All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for your time. Similar to Dave, I have a habit of kind of wandering around the stage, but unlike Dave, I did not become prepared enough with a clicker. So you will find me over there running back to my laptop to change the slide at some point, I'm sure. Despite the introduction, I'm actually here to talk about Crest. Obviously, I'm sure as practitioners, I can see throughout the room, I'm sure everyone's very familiar with Crest and what Crest does. This is really weird to hold to my face. But hopefully, what I'm aiming to do this morning is obviously give some context on how I see Crest helping professionals evolve in the industry in Southeast Asia and Asia over the next few years. Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Magic. It works, kind of, enough. I still need this. All right, so I won't bore everyone too long. I'll just introduce myself very briefly in case, unfortunately, I haven't annoyed you enough yet. My entrance into the industry was very different to most people, a very misspent youth with computers, that ultimately led me with no choice but to go into professional cybersecurity. I've been in Singapore since 2014, and obviously in my role within Crest, I'm an assessor and the penetration testing lead for the region. I've spent my career building high-performing offensive security teams across the world for various different brands. And as mentioned, now obviously working with my own technology startup in Singapore. More importantly, though, I'm here to talk about Crest. What is Crest? And I'm sure most people are familiar, but just to kind of give some context. So Crest stands for Council of Registered Ethical Security Testers. The ethical part is important, I guess. Obviously, Crest is a not-for-profit, established in 2006, but now operates globally. So holds chapters both in Asia, out of Singapore, Hong Kong, Malaysia, but also across Europe, across Australia, across the US, and obviously in the Middle East as well. Crest represents professionals and member companies across the industry, both on the penetration testing, offensive security side, all the way through to threat intelligence, incident response, and other areas such as SOC or SOC. Ultimately, Crest is all about building, driving capability, building and ensuring consistency across the industry as we develop and as an industry we evolve in terms of delivering cybersecurity solutions for organizations. So a brief kind of introduction as to why I'm here and what I'm hoping to talk about this morning. If the clicker doesn't hate me. It hates me. We tried. I believe it's a very, very exciting time to be a cybersecurity professional. Personally, I think it's always an exciting time, but ever more is now an exciting time. Cybersecurity is constantly evolving, but more importantly, the industry is evolving around us. As organizations begin to truly understand that cybersecurity is a key risk to their organizations, we've never seen such focus, not just at the ground level in terms of technical implementation, but all the way through to C-levels and boards. Most importantly, though, it's spread incredibly quickly across industries. I think 10, 15 years ago, we would very clearly say financial institutions were the primary kind of buying market for cybersecurity services, cybersecurity products. But that has changed significantly in the last kind of 5, 7, 8 years. Critical infrastructure all the way through to SMB, SME. Personally, I've never seen so many opportunities to A, enter industry, but also progress in the industry as well. Not just upgrading technical skills, but upgrading professional skills, competencies, capabilities, exposure. And thus, I genuinely believe that this is the right time to gain access to an opportunity to affect incredible change within our industry. This time it works. It's magic. Okay, sorry, overly excited. So I want to take you on a small journey of what I've seen in Asia in terms of industry evolution. I'll keep it condensed. I'm not a historian, but hopefully it'll resonate or make sense to a few people in here. So I think it all began a couple of years ago. When I say a couple, I really mean 10, with what we see as kind of the predominant tier 1 pen testing advisory or guidelines, typically pushed down by regulation onto that financial sector. A few examples on the screen right now that I'm sure you can see, and I'm sure there are many, many others that I just didn't have time to copy and paste into a slide. ABS guidelines for pen testing, all the way through to things like Bank Nagara's, Armit, et cetera, et cetera. These activities were really focused on technical validation. Is the asset or the system I'm looking at vulnerable to a technical compromise? Is there a SQL injection? Is there a cross-site scripting vulnerability? Has someone not updated a particular system? There's a buffer overflow, et cetera, et cetera. We were answering very simple questions, I would suggest. Are there weaknesses in the system that could be exploited? And at this point, I'll just do my testing annually, because that's how often attackers like to target me. But ultimately, we were trying to answer one question for organizations we worked with. What do I need to do to prevent a breach from happening? What do I need to fix? What controls can I implement? I just don't want a breach to ever, ever happen. I think, as an industry, we evolve, we grow. And we like to go, okay, we've changed from that perspective, and we kind of look back on what we've done. This image, I wish I had a pointer on this somewhere, but I don't, I think reflects how I think a lot of people felt at the time. How are things? Well, the reality was that banks, insurers, technology companies, all the way through to healthcare education, were still being breached. Despite doing their annual pen testing, despite doing technical validation exercises, they were still being breached. And this forced organizations to begin to look at security holistically, very much to the point that Dave, I think, was talking about in the previous talk. How do we help organizations begin to look at their security posture holistically? How do we help them understand that security isn't just a matter of prevent, but a matter of prevent, detecting, and responding when the prevention controls inevitably fail? And so, as an industry, what we saw was that the buying market, or the organizations we work with, began to shift their questions quite considerably. Should we assume that breach is inevitable? If we do, how do we strengthen our ability to detect and respond to a cyber attack? And this, to me, is incredibly important. In a world where we see, almost daily at this point, high-impact zero days being sprayed across the internet, Log4Shell, Spring Shell, F5 big IP RCEs, the next Confluence zero day, etc. The reality is that we have to assume a breach is inevitable. We can't sit here doing annual pen tests every day to find all these vulnerabilities 10 minutes after they've been flung into the wild. So we have to evolve how we look at security and help our organizations that we work with do that. So ultimately, as professionals, we have to think about how do we work with these organizations in a more effective manner? How do we really help them remain secure? And so from a Crest perspective, this became all about empowering professionals, not just to look at technical controls and to validate technical controls exist. Fantastic. We've all looked at the OAuth top 10. Does it work? Does it not work? We can debate for hours. But the reality is we need to ensure that organizations stay safe. Now, this evolved into many, many different things. It evolved into red teaming and all the different variations. I really enjoy this picture. I hope nobody minds. I just really enjoy the thinking phase. Purple teaming, cyber range activities, attack path mapping, attack and defense simulations, etc. But all solely focused on the assumption that we cannot prevent a breach. We can prevent as far as we can try, or as far as we can realistically get to, but detection and response are inevitable activities we will have to get to. Fails me again. Oh, magic. So, not to bore anyone any longer, the big finale. What does this realistically mean for Crest professionals? So, oh no. This thing really hates me. Okay. So I think as an industry, as technical individuals and therefore technical practitioners, we have a tendency, and a very strong tendency I would suggest, to hyper-focus on technical skills. We love finding the new ways to break technology A, how we can circumvent control B, and prove that antivirus, 15 years later, still doesn't work. We get it. It doesn't work. We understand. But as professionals, we're not just there to show everyone how broken things are. We're not just there to show that your controls that you spent thousands of dollars on, hundreds of thousands of dollars on, are ineffective. But we're there to help organizations understand how they can maintain, build, and strengthen security posture. And so, to me, that means a lot more than technical skill set. Yes, you might be the best web app hacker in the world, but if you can't work with an organization to understand risk, if you can't help them make nuanced decisions, it's just technical testing. So this is where I think Crest really becomes important, and this is where I think the industry needs to evolve to. I use the term professionalism. Some people might disagree with me, but I'm sticking with it. To me, This means that we evolve as individuals, as professionals, into people who have well-rounded skill sets that can consult, that can advise, that can support. To me, this means soft skills. Technical skills, absolutely, but the ability to combine both those things into communication. Can we make decisions informed by experience that appreciate the risk of what we're looking at? A simple example. When you're on a red team and you're inside the payment environment of a world or a global bank, it's not a binary decision in terms of how you approach a particular situation. It's not a binary decision in terms of how you manipulate payment transactions, as David alluded to. It's not a binary decision in terms of how you advise on solutions that might help some of the challenges you've dealt with. It's about understanding the pillars of cybersecurity that have been built, about understanding how organizations typically work around risk and how they'll manage that risk that you're highlighting to them. A little bit facetious, but I see it a lot. Absolutely, it's super cool that you can exploit Active Directory in 100 different ways while doing a backflip. I think it's awesome. But can you demonstrate your experience to say that, Mr. Organization or Mrs. Organization that I'm working with, I can make an experienced decision on what I should do inside this payment environment to ensure no downtime? Because ultimately, that's what we're doing as experienced professionals. Not just showing there's a technical weakness, but ultimately showing experience and showing our risk-based decisions. So this is where Crest really comes in, and this is where this is what we at Crest really try to do with our technical examinations and our soft skill examinations. As I'm sure everyone has seen in the practitioner community across Asia for the last kind of 5-6 years, CRT has become the forefront, or I guess the benchmark in terms of skill quantification for penetration testers, for cybersecurity practitioners. But as the industry evolves, as organizations expect more from us as practitioners, we have to continue to level up to be not just technical practitioners, but professionals. We have to be able to understand the challenges, the enterprise security boundaries, the pillars that people have built so that we can properly advise, as opposed to the next cross-site scripting exploitation mechanism. From my perspective and from what we've built on the assessor team at Crest, this is exactly what the Crest certified level exams are designed to do for your career. They are for professionals to demonstrate and baseline all of the skills that I've been talking about. Report writing, communication, situation handling. Can you make risk and experience-led decisions? Because sometimes there isn't a right decision, but can you explain why you've made that decision? Can you understand how an organization has architected their ISMS, their security environment, their controls? And then can you ultimately then advise organizations? This is what Crest qualifications are designed to do. They're not a boot camp for you to go and pass in 2 weeks through a technical examination, but designed to baseline real quantifiable skills, real professionalism skills, as I like to put it. So, thank you very much for listening to me. Just to summarize, I genuinely believe it's an incredibly exciting time to be a cybersecurity practitioner in Asia. Honestly, there has never been a more exciting time as the industry truly evolves and as the expectations of the market changes around us. But this truly necessitates improvement of your skills, not just technical skills. Organizations look to Crest individuals and Crest companies for battle-tested experienced professionals. Again, not just technical qualifications, but your ability to really understand cybersecurity risk. This, although, leads to an incredible opportunity to affect change. Cool. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for listening to me. Very excited to have a mic to walk around with and a clicker, so thank you.